Hi everybody, this is Lorraine with Chat and Craft with Lorraine Tierney, and I thought I would come on today and show you about the Fine Art Gallery. It's called the Art Gallery Stamp Set, and it's from the Fine Art Floral Suite in our new mini catalog. Hopefully you have one of these. If you don't, leave me a message and I would be happy to send you one. It's chock full of ideas and great things. You can see in this suite, there's a ton of things. There's stamps, there's dies, there's ribbon, there's paper, there's all kinds of things. But I thought today I would just show you some simple stamping with this kind of thing. So mostly we're just going to use stamps, ink, and paper. And we're going to keep it simple. So this is what the stamp set looks like. It's called Art Gallery. It has 6 image stamps, and it has a whole bunch of sentiments. And then the dies that come with it can cut out the flowers, and they have some that will cut out the sentiments as well. But you don't have to have the dies. They weren't available when I ordered the stamp set, so I don't have them yet. And it's kind of a nice challenge to use the stamp set without them and to try to keep it simple. So this is what we're going to do. Here, I'm going to try to make a few different cards. Here's the first card we're going to make. So it's very simple. It's white card base. I used the extra thick Whisper White, and then I have a white mat, a white card front on top of that. And I did some stamping and just 3 little embellishments, which I left on the other table, so I'm going to have to go get those in a second. Okay, but I thought we would start with that card. So this one is Pear Pizzazz and Rococo Rose. And now I'm going to use a couple of different colors to show you this one. I'm going to use Old Olive for the green, and I'm going to use Misty Moonlight for the flower. So we'll start with the flower. And these are the photopolymer stamp sets, so they come in the case in between plastic. You take it out of the case and you put it on your block. And then I like to ink it up by just tapping the ink on the stamp. I'm not pushing. If I push, I'll push too much ink away from the top. It will come around the edges and I'll get a halo. So I'm just keeping it light. And I'm going to put the stem pretty much in the middle of the paper, a little bit at an angle, and I'm going to go up a little higher than I did on the other one because I thought it needed to be higher. Okay, so that's the beautiful stamp. All that shading and texture comes out just from the stamp. You don't have to do a thing to make that happen. It's great. Okay. And now, because these are the clear stamps and I'm using a clear block, I can line my flower up pretty easily on top. So I'm going to keep telling myself I need to stamp off first with the flower. So I'm inking it up the other way this time, but again, just tapping, not pushing. You can see I have good coverage. And that's going to be too dark for the part of the flower that I want. So I'm going to stamp it on my scrap paper, pick it up, and then I'm going to come and stamp it over here. And I'm just going to hold it on there for a second, let that ink transfer, and pick it up. I love that color. So those are both Misty Moonlight, but one is stamped off, and then the next color is a little bit lighter. Some people call that second generation stamping. Hi, Courtney. So now I'm going to do the shading on the flower, the darker color there. It's a different stamp that does that shading, and I'm going to do that with the Misty Moonlight in the full strength. And I am stamping on this foam pad. These clear stamps don't have a lot of give, so stamping on something that has a little bit of cushioning helps. Okay. And there's the shading on that flower. That's simple, but I just think it's gorgeous. I hope you do too. And I decided that this one I needed a birthday card. So there is a happy birthday sentiment that comes with the stamp set, and I'm going to use that. This is one of those stamp sets that I didn't order on my first pre-order, and you know it's bad when you have a first pre-order. I didn't need it. It was pretty, but I didn't need it until I saw people stamping with it just like this, these simple, simple cards, and then I had to have it. Okay, so I'm gonna overlap the bottom of the stem a little bit. I hope I like that. There we go, and it says happy birthday. And let me close this ink pad before I make a mess. And just clean these off. You can see my chamois is very well loved. It's very stained. I do rinse it and dry it out. The staining does not affect the performance, just like the stamps. These clear stamps get stained by the ink, and that doesn't hurt anything. All right, let me grab. These are called Elegant Faceted Gems that I'm going to use on there. And I used the clear ones on this card. I think I'll go with sparklier ones. And then they have some that have, I think it's a champagne color too. But I'm going to use these. And they come in two sizes. I tend to like the... Oh, what did I say? I said I wanted to use the white ones. And I left the sticky there. I'm going to have to try to get the next one right on top of that. There we go. Much better. Somebody once told me that embellishments have to go in threes or odd numbers, so I'm a good rule follower. That's what I do. And now I'm going to put this, upside down, not upside down, on the front of my card. Let's see. The Whisper White, the thick stuff, sometimes gets a little shredded look on the edge. You just have to wipe that off. It's so thick that when you cut it, that happens sometimes. Okay. And I'll just put this on the front. I thought about putting a ribbon. Oh, I smudged it. Oh, well, I have a little eraser. Might take that off. I have some ink on my hand, I guess. And that happens as a card maker, or I can do this. Here's a trick. Three is the rule for embellishments unless you're covering up a smudge, and then you can always add a fourth. Yeah, spring birthday, I agree. So that's the first card. I just love it. It makes me happy. The second card, I went a little bit fancier. So this has a little bit more to it. I still just stamped the flower and the leaves, and then I added a piece of cardstock and some of the Designer Series paper that goes with this thing. And I put this piece of paper through an embossing folder. There is an embossing folder in this suite. I don't remember the exact name of it. And it looks like an acrylic painted background. I have one that's called Old World Paper 3D, and I decided to go with what I have instead of ordering another one. So I started this card ahead of time so that you wouldn't have to watch me stamp the flower again. This one is Rich Razzleberry. And so it's the stamped off Rich Razzleberry, and then the dark Rich Razzleberry, and a Mossy Meadow leaf. And you can see the difference, how plain it is without going through the embossing folder and the embossing folder. So we're going to do that. And I don't know if the other acrylic embossing folder is like this, but I like the embossing folder with the raised side up. So that means I have to put my image in upside down on this one. And I use that line at the bottom there to tell me. And I even have a cheat sheet note written on here that says face down, because I've done it the wrong way so many times. And whether you're using the Big Shot or the new cut and emboss machine, you need to use an embossing folder plate. This is the one that comes with the new machine, or you might have this blue one that Stampin' Up! Was selling with the Big Shot for a while. You can use either one. They're exactly the same. So I'm going to run this through my Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine. And when I take it out, it has this beautiful texture to it. And I just think that adds a lot to the card and keeps it from looking quite so stark. I need to give this a little bit of a rub with my bone folder just to flatten it out. And now I'm going to put this piece on. And this seal is, Stampin' Seal is great for putting down the embossed pieces. They're a little bumpier, and so you need a nice strong adhesive, and this works great. I picked a different piece of the Designer Series paper this time. I went with a pink and green one. There also has a very light pink on the back. And I'm going to put this on a piece of Mossy Meadow cardstock. I'm going to center it. I made the DSP a little bit smaller and the border a little bit bigger this time. I used a petal pink ribbon on this that has the gold edging. That matches pretty well. It's pretty, but I thought on this one I would use my favorite, what is it? This one called Polka Dot Tulle, Whisper White. That's not in English. Polka Dot Tulle. Okay. So I'm going to cut a piece of this and then tie that in a bow right around here. I did have the idea to pre-tie this because it's hard for me to tie a bow, and a bow on camera is even harder. But then I forgot. This tool, even though I'm mangling it, is, I lost my other loop, is pretty forgiving and a little bit easier to tie a bow with than some. So let's try that again. If I don't get it this time, we'll just skip the bow. Who's crossing their fingers for me? Anybody? Tommy, I hope you're crossing your fingers. Okay. Well, I can play with this bow a little bit later. You can always fix things, keep fussing with it. Sometimes you just gotta let it go. But, all right, and I'll trim off that end. There we go. And I popped the other one up on dimensionals, so I guess I'll do that for this one too. These are great for giving a little lift to things. I really like just something about the way that texture added to the card. It doesn't look like it's just white space. Okay, see if I can get this on there pretty straight. And then there's the sentiment. And I have some of the little dimensionals to pop this up on. This is stamped from the same stamp from the art gallery, and then I cut it out with one of the stitched rectangle dies. I'm going to move that a little bit. I'm going to pull that one off and put another one on because I want it to overlap just a bit onto that piece of cardstock and paper, just to kind of tie it all together a little bit. There you go. And then I would put a piece of Whisper White inside and go from there. Yes, Elena, those ribbons are challenging, aren't they? Courtney, thank you for the crossed fingers. So the oh, nope, I got two more. This one, then I thought I'll just show you what the DSP looks like. So this is one of the pieces of paper from the Fine Art Floral paper, I believe it's called. And I just cut a piece off of this. I don't have a full pack here because I've been having so much fun playing with it, but here are some of the other papers that are in this pack. They're very pretty, and they all look like they are acrylic painted. That's actually what we used a little piece of on the other card. So there's all different patterns. And so this eighth, just so I'd have a little border. And now I'm going to put a little ribbon around it. And I'm not going to tie a bow this time. I'm going to cheat. I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm cutting it just a little bit bigger than the width of the card. And I'm going to put some adhesive on the back. Oh, where's my piece? And then I'm going to lay this down along the front. I can use my grid paper to help me try to get that even and hopefully not stick the whole thing to the grid paper. Okay, I'll add the rest of my adhesive. And put that on the front. I have a happy birthday that I'm going to pop up again. And I'm going to try to have it jump over my ribbon a little bit, so I'm kind of going at the top and at the bottom. There we go. And then I'm going to take another piece of ribbon. This doesn't have to be too long. And I'm going to tie that, whoops, onto here. And I'm just going to tie like you're tying your shoes. The first step of tying your shoes, do a little thing like that. There you go. And so that's just a very basic birthday card, and it's the DSP is doing all the work for you. It's just beautiful. And that happy birthday came from this stamp set, Approaching Perfection, and this is one of the free stamp sets with a $50 purchase. All right, and now I'm really excited to show you the last batch of cards that I made. So I made these 4 cards all at once. I stamped one piece of 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock and then cut it up. So it's called stamping your own background or stamping your own DSP. And I tried to use different colors than were exactly in the other paper. So I have Terracotta Tile and Bumblebee and Pear Pizzazz in these. And again, it's really just stamps, ink, and paper. On this one, I did pop up the sentiment and cut it out. And this one, I added that polka dot tulle ribbon. But I'm going to show you how I made those, because this is a lot of fun. So this is just your basic piece of Whisper White paper. And I can't put my little stamping pad underneath there, so I have a little piece of foam. This purple thing is a foam mat. That will hopefully give me enough cushion. I'm trying to get all my inks over here and my stamps. If you could see my table now. Whew. All right, so I have Bumblebee. And this is the stamp that I want to use with the Bumblebee. I think it's out of camera right now, but I'm just kind of putting things next to the ink pad that I want to use, in hopes that I won't put something in the wrong ink pad, but you never know. Tommy, it is kind of like oil paintings, isn't it, that paper? It's, they said that those are actually painted. Somebody painted those pictures and then they photographed them, and that's how they made that paper. All right, so we are going to stamp all over this piece of cardstock. It's 8.5 by 11. And then we're going to cut it in quarters and cut it into the right size like this to go on the front of the cards. So when I do that, I usually start with what I would consider the biggest thing and the thing that I probably, the image that I probably want the fewest of. So I do want some green in this, but I'm not going to have a ton of green. So I'm going to stamp these so that they're going on and off the paper. And I'm just going around with them. I'm remembering that I'm going to cut this in quarters, and I want there to be some green on each piece of the paper that I cut. And even after I cut them, I can go back and add a little bit, especially around the edges if I need it. I'm purposefully not putting this up in the middle like it would have a flower on the end of it, because I'm not going to try to match that up, and I don't want it to look like, what do they call it, a dead-headed flower, where you just have the stem and nothing else. So I'm trying to make sure they're at angles and lying down. I'm going to put a couple in the middle, making sure I get good coverage on these. Right there. Okay, and like I said, I can always go back and add a little bit more if I need to. All right, you really don't want to overthink it. You just kind of want to go with it. I'm going to close my green so that I don't use it accidentally. Now I'm going to do the big flower, and the trickiest part of this is that I have to remember to stamp off. So I'm going to get another piece of paper. I don't want to move you out of the camera, but I want a piece of paper right here that I can stamp off on. Okay, so this is the big flower. I'm going to stamp off, and then I'm going to put these in. And if they overlap a little bit on the green, that's okay. And this is Terracotta Tile. It's really a pretty color. I'm turning my stamp a little bit. I'm going off the edge of the paper a little. And I'm trying to remember to stamp off each time. Okay, so each quarter has at least one flower right now. And now I'm going to use the terracotta tile to do the darker part of the flower, and I don't have to stamp this one off. And this doesn't have to line up exactly, which I really like. We were talking about this with some other stamps last night. It's nice when it takes that pressure off of you. Okay, so I'll probably leave that one open because on these, I did the little flower mostly in Bumblebee, but on some of them I went back and added some in the terracotta tile. So we'll see. I might do that again. So this is Bumblebee. Just want to make sure I had cleaned that stamp. Yes, okay. So I'm going to put some of these. And I'm just trying to fill in the white spaces. I guess I don't like a lot of white space, although we're going to need some to put the sentiment on here. And we will add a sentiment, but I do that last. I want a little color in there. Maybe a little color on this. Oh, okay, not too bad. I'm going to have to put a flower there. Real life. How to cover up your mistakes. Well, I guess we'll do one there. All right, let's see. Yes, Jan, it is Cattywampus. Okay, so I'm going to stamp off again and just put just a littlest bit of some different color. And actually, some of these edges are going to get cut off because we have to make this a little bit smaller. So I'm going to stop there. We can always add more if we need to. Okay. So now let me find my cutter in this pile of things. We're going to cut this paper into card front size, which is 4 1/4, 4 by 5 1/4. Sorry, 4 by 5 1/4. So it's 8 1/2 right now. I'm going to cut it in half at 4 1/4 on this side, and then I'll cut each of these at 5 1/2 because the paper's 11 inches wide. And then from there, we're going to have to trim them a little bit. 5 1/2. Okay. So this, it's going to be too big for my card bases. I cut some card bases in the terracotta tile and in the Bumblebee. So let me just show you. This is the exact same size as the card front. And you can do that if you want, but I tend to cut it down a little bit and make it a little smaller. So I'm going to cut some off the top here. There's a lot of white right there. I'll cut 1/4 inch off there. And now I'm going to cut off this side in just these little pieces and go to 5 1/4 and see what I think of that. I also cut some Mossy Meadow mats that are just 1/8 of an inch bigger, 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. So that could go on here, and I would put a sentiment right there. Or it could go, oh, I kind of like it this way. I think, what do you guys think? I think I like it going portrait, and I would put the sentiment there. So we'll come back to that one. We'll keep going with these. So I need to take off 1/4 of an inch of each side on this one. I don't love that little leaf just hanging out there. So we'll cut that off. Goodbye, leaf. And I'm going to go with 5 1/4. I could take 1/8 off of each side if I want, but I don't want to get that picky. Maybe see what this one looks like on the bumblebee. Yep, and I think I like the matte. Go like this. Get that just right. And that could go there. And so we keep going with these, trimming them all to 5 1/4 by 4. It's a great way to make 4 cards without a lot of time. You're getting out all the supplies just once, and coordinating everything just once. So let's put some sentiments on these before we put them down. Robin and Jan like portrait. Jan likes that Mossy Meadow. Yes, that's your favorite color green, isn't it? All right. We're going to do our sentiment on this one. I think we'll do it in the green. And I'm going to keep going with happy birthday because we have a lot of winter birthdays in our family. I'll make sure that was clean. Okay. So I'm going to stamp a happy birthday in this one. So that's going to go landscape. Ah, just very simple, but I hope you agree that they come out looking great. You don't have to have all the other things that go in the suite. They're nice, they're fun. I do like there's gilding flakes in there, they're called. They are beautiful. I'm going to do a demo with those later on. I don't remember exactly which day I wrote it down. They are fun, but you don't have to have them to make beautiful cards with this art gallery stamp set. I'm finally getting the name right. I've been calling it Fine Arts or something like that, but it's Art Gallery. Okay, so now we'll just put these together. I did bring a white card base over because you can do the white on white again, just like that. Super plain and simple, but very pretty. Or you can do it this way and mat it. I think I'm going to mat it. Just call me Lorraine Matt Tierney. Oh, that is a good idea, Courtney. You could make 4 of these as a gift to somebody. You could put them in a little box that you make too. I have directions on my blog how to make a box that will hold, I think, up to 6 or 7 cards. And it really makes a nice packaging. Isn't that pretty? Oh, love that flower. I'm not a gardener. Robin, you could probably tell us what kind of flower it is. I just think it's beautiful. What kind of flower is it, Robin or Courtney? Do you know flowers, Jan? I don't know what it is. Tommy, the white on white is not your favorite? Okay, I'll remember that. You like more color. I'm glad you expressed your opinion. That's fine. That's why there's so many different colors, because everybody likes different ones. Whoops, I didn't fold this yet. Okay. Beautiful. Bumblebee is one of my favorite colors, that yellow. So is that the official name, Jan? The Latin name is pretty flower? Prettius flowerus. Robin doesn't know what it is either. Okay, I don't feel so bad. I guess we'll just call it a flower image. So on the inside of the cards, I think on this one, when you put your white in, you could always put a little small flower that coordinates with the front. That's a cute little touch for people. And don't forget, you can put something on your envelope. Stamp a little design, add an image. An iris. Oh, Courtney, maybe. It kind of looks like that, like with the layers, or the way I think of an iris as having parts that come down a little bit. Maybe that's what it is. All right, so now look at that. 4 cards are made. You could dress them up a little bit with some rhinestones or some different embellishments, or you could have put ribbon around them. But really, I think it's beautiful with the stamp, ink, and paper. I think it makes a gorgeous set of cards. And you'd never know it started out as one big piece of paper that you cut up. So, I don't know. I think you need the art gallery stamp set. I think it's just gorgeous. Here are the cards we made again. These are the other 2. And then this one with just the DSP. In some place I have the white ones that we started off with. Here they are. In the blue. And also in the pink. I think these might be my favorite. Just the very, very simple flower stamped on there. I just love it. I love it. Makes me smile. I hope you like these. I hope you'll make a card. And even more importantly, I hope you'll send some cards. These are the days we need to let people know that we're thinking of them, that they're on our mind, and that we're still connected even though we can't gather together. So thank you for joining me today. I would love it if you would share this video, and if I can help you with a catalog or obtaining any supplies, please let me know. Thanks so much. Bye.